Chief, I want to start off around an issue that's had much headlines in the last 3 years around police officer uplift. We've seen national politicians talk about the 20,000 additional police officers recruited for England and Wales, but also we've seen investment on top of that here in West Mercia, and I've talked a lot about visibility and accessibility. It's also clear that visibility and accessibility is in the minds of our communities. I'd really be interested if you would just summarise how that investment over the last 3 years has been utilised, and just how you see that start to pay ever greater dividend for the communities across West Mercia, of the benefit of that uplift.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you outlined, Commissioner, not just the benefit of the national uplift of the 20,000 officers, but additional investment through local investment in an increase in officers, which means that at the beginning of next year it will be the highest number on record of police officers in West Mercia. And in terms of where those investments have been made over the last 3 years, looking at what's really important to our local communities, but then also the operational perspective of where that investment needs to be made. So we've invested in response policing, the officers who respond 24/7 to 999 calls and other incidents, in roads policing, recognising we suffer from killed and seriously injured incidents on the roads. Investments into neighbourhoods policing, into our lower confidence areas, higher crime areas. Really pleased we've invested in additional officers in there. And then the focus this year was on an uplift in investigations, recognising that's an area that we needed to improve to deliver better service to victims and improve our outcome rates in terms of crime.
Bringing those offenders to justice, a very centre of the modern police service and their role in society, and I was very pleased to support that additional investment into the investigative function, because I do think it is central that if you think about committing a crime, you need the fear that you're going to be held accountable in West Mercia. Interesting sometimes to disconnect in the public between the work around bringing criminals to justice and that old adage around visibility. Tom from Worcester said he feels police officers are visible, so he said they are visible, but doesn't always feel that they're in the right places. I'm interested, Chief, how you just set out for those watching how you decide where police officers are based and the functions that they perform.
So a lot of it's driven by our estate. So we have a good provision of estate across the busy areas across the 3 counties. And then also where we have a gap in our estate provision, and we're exploring opportunities to share locations, whether that's with local councils, whether it's with fire. And so we've got several shared locations across the 3 counties. And officers concentrate their visibility based on the ward profiles that they're actually policing, but also the high harm data, so where those offences are taking place. You mentioned that Tom was from Worcester. We've recently looked at our visibility in Worcester across the nighttime economy. In fact, I was out on patrol on New Year's Eve and saw it with my own eyes in terms of how busy Worcester city centre gets, especially on a night like New Year's Eve. And the visibility is really carefully thought through in terms of people coming into the city, where they go initially, where they might go on to in terms of a later nighttime economy, and then the egress as they go home to their home locations around taxi ranks and train stations and things. And that visibility can change through the course of the evening. And I've seen it myself in terms of that increased visibility in somewhere like Worcester, and about how we really make our presence felt to make people feel safe, but also to deter offences taking place, not just through the use of foot patrol for officers, but also our use of police vehicles. Going forward, I'm really excited we're rolling telematics out across our police fleet, so we can overlay that crime data, we know that antisocial behaviour data, and then we can ensure that where we know our vehicles are, that we can have default patrol locations to make sure we can really reassure ourselves that our officers are there in the best place to respond at any point in time.
Fast forwarding a bit, the plans that you've been implementing and the ones that you inherited, the changing in the model that you're talking about, when do you think people like Tom will start to feel the benefit of that? Because he already says they're visible, but he doesn't always feel they're always or in the right place roughly how long do you think it is before it might feel? And it's interesting. It comes from a positive position, doesn't it? How it might get even better.
So I suppose what we rely on, if Tom has a perspective that we're not in the right place at the right time, then I'd be really interested to, if you speak to your local team, to say where you think we aren't when we should be. Sounds like two double negatives. But speak to your team, your local Safer Neighbourhood team in Worcester, around what your concerns are. In fact, anyone watching, to speak to your local team, and you can identify them through our West Mercia Police website. Let them know what your concerns are, where you think there's lack of police visibility or activity, and our guarantee is that we'll respond to that.
So you mentioned about accessing them directly. West Mercia Police advertise all their Safe Neighbourhood teams, names and direct access mobile telephone numbers and email addresses on the Neighbourhood Matters website, where somebody can just pop into their postcode and it brings up their local teams, and they can sign up to the newsletters as well about the local issues in their environment. And I'd absolutely urge anybody in their local community that wants to know a bit more, great place to get that information.